Hi, Dominic.
Yes, hi.
Thanks for joining me.
It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice to have you on as a guest. And I think just to start, I would ask you to share what you think is important about who you are for our audience, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, well, thank you. Um, Presently, I'm a registered clinical counselor, but also since completing the Canada Coach Academy, I'm happy to say I'm a certified executive coach.
Yay.
So that's, yeah, who I am presently, living in Vancouver, uh,
Mhm.
with my wife and two adult children. So it's just my wife and I, learning to be empty nesters.
Yeah.
Um, Lived in Asia for 24 years
Oh, wow.
and yeah, rose up the ranks in the hotel industry to a corporate office job with Hilton, and exited that role, um, and moved into counseling.
Hmm.
Um, so it was a complete shift, career transition. Um, but I was happy to come to Canada and help my daughters go through university, and so it was a logical move at the time. Um, yeah, so that's kind of, yeah, what I'm doing now, and who I am. Yeah.
Hmm. So, what do you think was the trigger for you to move from the corporate world of, hotel management to mental health?
Um, and I'd have to date this back to 2007. I mean, there was an issue with one of our senior team members, and I just felt like he needed more than my coaching at the time,
Mm,
or mentoring.
yeah.
And I suggested that he seek professional support. Where I was at the time, there wasn't a lot of options for him. And we spent quite a bit of time together. And I realized at that point in 2007 that to be successful in your role, then we do need to spend time with people and understand issues that they may be going through, either professionally or personally.
Mm,
And that was a catalyst for change for me. And believe it or not, it helped my career. Just I had no idea at that point that I would, you know, move into what I'm doing now. Um, but this change in my career of focusing on the people,
mm,
um, just it moved the needle in my career. I mean, I moved up and ended with that corporate office job, which is, I don't know if everybody goes for that, but is something me and my friends always wanted. And
hmm.
I put that down to the 2007 opening conversation with one of my senior managers. So yeah, that was, yeah, just spend time with people and success comes.
Wow. And so, what shifted for you when you started to focus on people and not the business side, or at least just the
Yeah.
organizational business goals? And I ask that because we have a corporate clients, and
Mm.
they're learning the coach approach to leadership, which is very much
Yeah.
focused on an individual. So it'd be super curious to hear from you what that shift was.
Well, the more I knew, the more I knew I didn't know.
Yeah.
And in listening, and supporting people and putting them first, and building empathy, and,
Mm,
and realized in my senior management role, this is not all about me. It's really about them, and my success is not about me, actually.
mm,
So when I say the more I didn't know, I began to take an interest in, I can say, looking at ways. I wasn't really aware that I was going to go and take a master's in the US in mental health counseling. I had no idea, but I was looking at ways that I could support my senior team members more than just looking at the month end or year end profit and loss statement, or guest comments or service satisfaction. And that was my journey, moving to I would say some minor education that I was taking online, or in those days it wasn't so much online, but there were some courses locally. And I learned a lot more about listening, about empathy, and I applied this at work. And that was 2007, the opening conversation. Big shift in career was 2014, 2015, getting promoted and going up the ranks even further. And I put that down to learning, just about listening, and to people. Yeah.
So what made you choose Palo Alto?
It's a good question. They offered an online learning component.
Okay.
That was new in those days, Zoom.
Yeah.
But also we had to travel for in-person, classes. And their university, after some research, I realized was very deep into psychology. And most of their courses, from what I know, is really counseling. And, a lot of people graduating go on to be clinical psychologists. I didn't take my PhD yet, but I could see a path there. And also it's a university that I did have an idea that I may come to Canada to practice. And it's accredited, the degree is accredited here.
Oh, see. Oh, I see.
So this is very important. You can do a degree overseas and all of a sudden it doesn't apply.
Yeah.
So I also needed to do that research for my long-term career.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, interesting. So this is also, I think your career path is also a really nice example of how you can pivot in your life. You can make a big change in career. And I think that's more and more common these days among younger generations. So, but less common for, people like, in generations before. So you're a mental health professional and you decide to become certified as a coach. Tell me
Yes.
about that.
I specialize predominantly in adult males. That's how I, put myself out there on the various platforms.
Yeah.
And I would say all of them are middle senior management or successful entrepreneurs. And coming from the business world and then being trained in mental health counseling, I felt like, well, I could relate to them on the business side of whatever they may be going through. And of course, they come to me for the mental health component. But again, I felt there was something missing, that it's hard to put it, I always felt there was just something missing there that would allow me to get closer to them. And so counseling can get quite deep, depending on where it leads. But I felt not everybody is coming to see me just for counseling. There may be minor mental health issues that is contributing to their whatever issues at the workplace or in their own business or industry. And I had often thought about becoming a certified executive coach, capitalizing on my business skills. And there's something just sort of, went off like last year. after talking to a PCC coach, there's a good friend of mine in Asia, she's from Taiwan, she's a PCC, and I had a chat with her, and she's a friend, so it wasn't paid coaching, but she gave me coaching. And she kind of said, look, with your business background and your mental health background, it's probably a good fit. So give it a go. So I would say she helped me move, across the line that, okay, it's time now to get a certification to be an executive coach, because I believe it would add value. And I also believe there's not a lot of individuals out there holding both credentials, but I think they can work parallel with each other. So that was, thanks to my friend, in Asia, I'm PCC coach, and she has been for many years. She helped me think it through.
Interesting. So we have mental health professionals in our community of coaches who come, and I've had the privilege of, facilitating courses for with like yourself, who's been in my program. And I asked one in particular, what was the difference between coaching and therapy for her? And the answer was the pillars of change. One pillar is missing in therapy, where in coaching, a person to change has to be aware of or willing to explore each of the pillars of change. And those pillars being a vision for what you want, the dissatisfaction or, now a certain dissatisfaction, and the will to do the work of change. And all of that has to be bigger than resistance. Is that something, does that resonate for you?
It certainly does. It certainly does. What I feel, what I bring to the coaching platform that allows me to differentiate, between the two, is looking presently where the client is at and helping them move forward to where they want to go. So, and we know that from the course we took. However, the caveat here, or the nuances, are that where they are at, there may be some mental health issues that has impacted them. So there's the overlap of where we are at and possibly what they have been through has brought them to see you.
Right.
And then we move forward from there. So I'm looking at the present on where you want to go. However, assessment will tell me if I feel there could be something holding you back that is deeper. You're really below the water here, and maybe not able to go above. And that would put me as not quite ready for coaching.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you raise a good point that you're skilled and, a licensed therapist. So you can see people who have, potential, mental health issues where most coaches are not, therapists. And so there's a real important emphasis on knowing when to refer a client to therapy. So what you're saying about present and future focused is something that's really important to distinguish between therapy and coaching, I think, and designing the future, learning from the past. That's what we say, bringing it forward, but also keeping our attention to where we have the most power, which is the present moment and the future. But I think it's such a great empowering approach to therapy. If I consider my own experience with therapy, you know, I think everybody needs therapy once in a while.
Mm,
And
they
so,
do.
and
Yeah.
I've had, you know, the pleasure of meeting some good therapists and some that were not, that were less empowering and therefore for me didn't work. And
Mm,
so yeah, I really appreciate your interest in combining the two,
mm,
your
mm.
practice. So what, you know, what's changed for you since you've added coaching to your practice?
Yeah, it's a good question. Believe it or not, I do onward refer clients if I feel um, it's deeper than, you know, that I could help them, you know, move forward.
Mm,
Because I would, you know, I would look at I have a preference for coaching,
okay.
um, and but to be ethical, I do put that out there. And so I would say, I mean, we can say, look, mild, medium, serious cases. Um, I will onward refer
Okay.
if I feel that coaching is not for them, and I feel I could help this client more with coaching versus being a counselor.
Mm,
Um, so yes, since I've taken the course, I find myself onward referring clients. Um, you know, if I really feel they would be served better by another therapist,
mm,
because I'm adapting. Even though I'm a solution focused therapist and a cognitive behavior therapist. That's my two specialties, but I'm adapting to um, the present and moving forward. But if I feel after 1 to 3 sessions, and that's what it can take 1 to 3 sessions just through the coaching to see if there is really something else holding them back that is more deep. And then I would talk over with the client that perhaps, you know, a psychodynamic approach,
mm.
um, things that we have to look back a little bit deeper is not something that I feel I could serve you well, and I'm going to refer you to someone else. So that's
Interesting.
what's changed. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And solutions focused therapy is, you know, I guess what I'm wondering is the comparison to the coach paradigm that you've learned
Mm,
in our community anyway,
yeah.
which is non-directive and
Yeah.
very empowering. What do you see? I guess what's the relationship between the solutions focused approach and the non-directive client centered approach in coaching?
Mm. Um, there's three things that stand out from solution focused therapy that we bring to the coaching world. Um, Miracle question,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
um, motivational interviewing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those two really stand out, and scaling.
Mm,
You
interesting.
know, from 1 to 10,
Yeah.
and so there's the overlap and the link between, you know, counseling and coaching. Um, and with those three questions, one can go quite deep. And well, not me, the client.
Yeah.
The client can go very deep when they start to think about, well, what would happen if I woke up tomorrow and a miracle happened overnight? What would my life look like?
Mm,
Where would I be going? What would I be doing? Um, and that's where we can pivot. Really, okay, is there something deeper holding you back, or are we moving forward here? You know, so yeah, that's those three key points from solution focused therapy, which I feel, to my coaching in a safe setting. Um,
yeah. Oh, that's really good to hear.
yeah,
And I've heard you mention the going deeper,
yeah,
um, you know, looking for what's in the way of progress.
yes,
When we talk about goals in coaching, we talk about performance goals, we talk about learner
Yes.
goals, right? So the learner goals are the ones that bring you discovery and awareness, and the
Mm,
performance goals are the, the task-oriented execution type goals. What do you feel is the, in listening to you talk about what's in the way of success, what do you think is the more powerful like approach to progress for people? Is it to focus on learner goals, or do you feel like performance goals, or are you seeing a balance in your practice?
um, I believe we need to review both. Um, I would say performance goals is my preference,
Mm,
because I do come from that corporate world. So it's my preference. But having the beginner's mind, which is so important, again, it's not about bringing my preferences, to the session. Um, but I try to promote myself as when I do my consultation call, or discovery call, I do talk over um, coming up with goals,
mhm,
and that would be in a way performance goals. We may use other terminology or other
mm,
words. Um, However, the learning goals that we can learn about ourselves, um, are very important because they're the key issues that may identify what is holding us back.
yeah.
And is that something bigger than I'm able to um, work through the client with? It quite possibly could be.
Mm,
So but both need to be addressed, because they reveal a lot about us.
yeah. Yeah, in my experience, the learner goals are the ones that reveal competing commitments, that
Mm,
reveal some uncertainty or ambiguity in terms of values, conflict in values showing up. Um, so yeah, I feel like they're the ones that really help people break through. When we say,
yes.
to have breakthroughs, that they're the ones that help people break through whatever's holding them back to progress.
Yeah. The aha moment
Yeah. Yeah.
can come from
Yeah.
that discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing we often say in coaching, which we joke about, but actually it's very it's a privileged position that we sit in. And that's that often people cry in these sessions. And
Mm.
I wonder if that's been your experience and what you attribute that to.
Good question. Um, it does happen quite frequently.
Hmm.
Um, and okay, made me think about it. When there's an aha moment of someone understanding what may or might be contributing to their stuckness
Yeah.
and then holding them back, um, and then they think about those issues, reasons, whatever they may deeply, um, that would be the point that they become emotional at one point. I mean, there can be other issues, thinking about loved ones that have passed on, or loved ones that have been influential in their life, and so on. But aha moments when they learn about themselves, not only is it, aha, why didn't I think of that? That's one way. But the other way is, wow, yeah, this is what I went through.
Hmm.
This has been an impact on me, and I didn't realize. And dealing with my whoever, boss, parents, whoever,
Yeah.
um, that can bring them to a point of emotion. Um, and this is not gender specific. I mean, I deal with adult males, and I also can tell you right now, they also can come to tears, um, and they do. And so, yeah, it's also quite healing, I feel, because that aha moment, that emotional outpouring, is a catalyst for growth, change.
Yeah, I always find that people are reveal their brilliance after strong emotion.
Yeah.
So when you let that wave pass,
Mm.
it's like it clarifies or it creates a passage for something. I don't know. When
Yeah.
I feel what I feel about coaching in this, in the respect of people crying, it really, I think, comes down to the space we hold. I don't know. Like, I feel like people, the skills that we're learning as a coach are all about client centered, all about holding space around someone, safety, psychological safety. And then, the questions that we ask are meant to be really to reveal information for the client, not for us. Right. So
Mm.
it's this self discovery and self reflection that takes place. And what I find when we use the skills and we hone in on a language that we're hearing that reveals something to a client, it's usually those moments that they start to
Mm.
unexpectedly, even to themselves, unexpected, like emotion comes up. And so,
Mm.
and like you said, I think one of the most powerful aha moments in
Mm.
coaching.
Mm.
Yeah. So what made you choose Canada Coach Academy? I have to ask.
um, I did my research.
Good.
Um, it's very important. I cannot remember right now, but I did speak to, you have representatives there, and set up an appointment call, which I think is a must,
Mm,
because you can walk through the program, and not only that, it's when you get off the call, you have all of these questions that you think, I didn't ask. And I felt really bad. I probably sent off 3 or 4 different emails, and she was so helpful. And I said, I'm sorry if I keep troubling you. Sure, that's my job.
yeah.
You know, so I think it's very important because we're in an online world. You can't go and sit down and talk to someone.
Mm,
Um, and so, yeah, after my research, I just felt, my research, even before I met up with your representative, I felt this is the organization that will provide me with what I'm looking for, to become a certified executive coach. And then, yeah, after talking to the representative, that was, the tipping point, because I did, you know, I'm from the UK. I mean, and so I also looked at some platforms in Europe and even the Middle East, and then I talked to my PCC friend, not for coaching, but I said, oh, I've
mhm.
got down to one company, and then she asked me a couple of questions, and you know, so yeah, it was. I did my research, but I just felt you guys stood out as being less, how to put this, it was less as though it just wasn't like the corporate business world.
Mm,
It was more like caring that you become a coach, as opposed to let's get the numbers in. Because yeah, I've spoke to some others or researched some others, and it was all about numbers, I feel.
mm. We're
And this,
actually told that a lot. I appreciate you
yeah,
saying that. And,
yeah.
that comes down to when I, when the company started and I was doing all the calls, I was taking all the calls from people coming to the programs. And I didn't know how to do sales. I wasn't in sales before. I had no idea. And so, but I do have a lot of passion. So I think that the
Good.
passion came through more than, and that's all I knew how to talk about was coaching and the power of coaching and what the potential opportunities were. And so I found myself having a lot of success. So when I started to build, the company started to grow and we had a sales team, I said to them we always choose coaches from our community for our admissions team or sales. And I said, just talk about what you love,
Yeah.
and talk about the opportunity that coaching brings and the rest will follow. And I think for that reason too, our community is, I mean, you've had a taste of our community. And I
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot of like-minded people here.
Oh, fantastic. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I had the privilege of being in your program and
Yeah.
as your facilitator and walking this journey with you. I have to say that your group was one of the most impressive, like just blew my mind out of this world group. I really had a great time with you all. So what was that like for you?
Um, Before I explain that, you mentioned one word about your passion.
Mm.
The representative I spoke to, I cannot remember her name right now, but yes,
Was
she
it
was.
Wendy?
No,
Zen? No, that's okay.
Elizabeth.
Doesn't matter.
No, she had a lot of passion,
Yeah.
and I think that's what stood out.
Mm.
Was when that's the word here. She was passionate about coaching
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
about my learning.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the class, great. And we're still in contact
Yeah.
and still coaching exchange.
Oh,
Um,
good.
and even one of the classmates was here in Vancouver.
Oh, yeah,
we
you met in person.
we had breakfast buffet outside, and spent a couple of hours, and I dropped him off at his meeting here, and you know it's like, wow, it was just a great bunch of a cohort. Was I It's very hard to describe it, just some pretty heavy hitters
Yes.
in
No.
the class, and such a
Yeah.
diverse group of personalities and careers and
Yeah.
backgrounds.
Yeah.
um Hopefully there will be some sort of lifelong connections here.
Yeah. What do you think was because it felt like there was a lot of synergy in your cohort.
Yeah,
And there was what, maybe 10 or 12 of you. What do
yeah,
you think it was that drew you together? Or what do you think maybe is important when you're considering a program? Like, what do you want to get out of that community looking back now?
yeah. The facilitator is very important to create that synergy amongst the community.
Mm.
That is key, because we can, I manage, I facilitate a group myself. And I think you asked me once, I think I said to you once, the group that I handle, it's not coaching, but now it's everything about coaching.
Hmm.
And we as facilitators create that synergy amongst the group members, that they can feel safe with each other. They can feel safe to be vulnerable with each other. No ridiculing. So not to polish your shoes as a facilitator, but you created that environment, which is very, very important. You're passionate about coaching and passing it to us, and we took it on.
Hmm. Yes, you all did.
And
Yeah.
we were passionate about supporting each other in the coaching exchange.
Yeah.
So I feel that is very, very important.
And I mean, and you also experienced me, but you experienced other facilitators
We
in our
did.
community, right?
Yes.
Because of my
Yes.
absence sometimes.
Yes.
I had somebody tell me recently that they were really impressed with how little there was, like the transition between facilitators was like
Yes.
almost seamless. It was,
That's right. It's almost as if there was no transition.
yeah, yeah.
It was open up online, and it's almost as if they knew us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there was no getting to know us, and it just kicked off very well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, every experience was a good experience. And I would imagine, even though we finished, I think our course wrapped up August the 19th,
Mm-hmm.
some of us probably still miss the class.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
miss it.
Yeah. So it's like, oh my God, I got Saturday morning free.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
I do? Not used to not having that connection. And yeah, we had a number of different facilitators. that also brings a little bit of spice to the, you hear something different, a different take. But the take, when I say a different take, it's the passion is still there, the learning is still there. It just can be discussed differently.
A different lens, right?
Yeah,
We all
different
come
lens.
with perspective.
Yeah, that's
So
right. Yeah,
that's what, and I think that that's important for coaches in development to
yes,
hear different perspectives in coaching.
yeah.
Well, look, I really appreciate this time with you and hearing, a little bit more
Yeah.
about your journey. And I guess my final question would be, what do you think you would want people to know about coaching? People who, I think one of the greatest opportunities that I have as a facilitator is to help others educate people on what coaching really is.
Yeah.
So if you had an opportunity right now to say one thing about coaching that you want people to know, what would that be?
When we take the coaching course, people need to know you don't take a coaching course just to become a self-employed coach. When we learn coaching, we can become better at what we do in our current lives. As I said, my group that I handle, it's nothing to do with coaching, but now it's all about coaching. And so I don't need to become a certified executive coach. I just can bring the coaching to what I do. And if I was still in my corporate office role, I think, wow, if I had known what I know now, things may have been very different at the time. So I feel whatever role you have, when you learn to become a coach, it'll just benefit you. There's nothing negative about it in any way. It can take you from here to here to the top, because you become a better listener. You have a beginner's mind. You become, I would say, more empathic. You help your colleagues, employees, peers, subordinates, whoever. You just help them. You'll get on better with your CEO and you'll become the CEO. You don't have to go through this program thinking to become a coach. You go through this program to do better at what you're doing right now. And that works. And of course you can become a coach if you want to. But you can also stay where you are.
Yeah, and that's what I appreciate you saying that, because it does open up so many doors.
It does.
And every person's journey is unique to them.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah. Well, I really appreciate this time. I love that you are enjoying and applying coaching, and that you've been able to take that certificate and pay it forward.
That's right. Who knows where it will go? But it's going to go. I just don't know where, but it's going to go, and it already is.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.